I never thought saying one simple word no would end with cops on my driveway flashing lights reflecting off my Camaro and the queen of our HOA getting fined right in front of the whole neighborhood. But that's exactly what happened. And honestly, I can't even say I was surprised. Not when it came to Karen. She'd always strutted around our neighborhood like she owned it, clipboard in hand, sunglasses on barking orders like some self-appointed dictator of suburban America. Everyone avoided her. They smiled, nodded, and escaped as fast as they could. But not me. I thought if I stayed in my lane, paid my dues, and kept to myself, she'd leave me alone. That illusion lasted right up until the day I brought home my new car, my dream car. A red Chevrolet Camaro with lines sharp enough to cut glass. That car wasn't just metal, it was proof that all the sacrifices, late nights and ramen dinners were worth it. I worked my tail off for years to afford it, and when I finally parked it in my driveway, it felt like victory. I'd earned this, every gleaming inch of it. But apparently in the kingdom of Karen, owning something nice was a crime. The moment she saw it, her eyes narrowed, and that fake little smile stretched across her face. She marched over sandals, smacking the pavement like a metronome of doom. "Nice car," she said, peering over her sunglasses. "Must be hard to maintain something so flashy in this neighborhood." There it was, the venom wrapped in sugar. I smiled, said, "Thanks," and walked away. But I could feel her gaze burning into my back. She wasn't done. I just didn't know it yet. The next morning I heard a knock. There she was, standing on my porch, holding a tray of store-bought cookies with the price tag still stuck to the side. "Thought I'd welcome you properly," she chirped. My first mistake. Opening the door. After a few awkward small-talk sentences, she got to the point. "My son's prom is next Friday," she said, smiling like a used car salesman. "He's a big car enthusiast. I was thinking you could lend him your Camaro. You know, just for the evening." I almost laughed in her face. "I'm sorry. You want me to lend your teenage son my brand new Camaro?" Her smile froze. "It's just one night." "No," I said. One syllable. Clean. Final. The transformation was instant. Her nostrils flared. Her voice shot up an octave. "No one says no to me. You'll rethink that. I expect a call by tomorrow." Then she spun around, stormed off, almost tripping over her sandals. I just stood there half shocked, half amused. Who does that? But here's the thing about people like Karen: when they feel embarrassed, they don't just walk away. They retaliate. A few days later, I opened my mailbox and found an official-looking envelope with the HOA logo on it. The letter read, "Failure to comply with community requests marks you as an enemy of the neighborhood." Enemy of the neighborhood. I laughed out loud. Was I living in the Cold War version of suburbia? I crumpled the paper and tossed it. Big mistake. The following week, I started getting HOA fines. $20 a day for lack of community spirit. $50 for reflective surfaces causing disruption. What does that even mean? My car was shiny. Sure, but apparently in Karen's eyes it was a weapon of mass reflection. Every few days more letters came. The fines stacked up. I stopped reading them. But each envelope was a reminder she wasn't letting this go. I started noticing things too. A few neighbors stopped waving. Some whispered when I walked by. It was like Karen was poisoning the air, one conversation at a time. And slowly, I began to question myself. Maybe I was being too stubborn. Maybe I should have just lent the car for one night, avoided all this chaos. Was I really the problem? I hated that thought. But when you're standing alone, surrounded by people too afraid to back you up, doubt creeps in. Then one night I sat on my porch looking at that Camaro gleaming under the porch light, and I remembered why I bought it. It wasn't just a car. It was everything I'd worked for. And I realized I wasn't about to hand over my hard work just to make a power-hungry HOA president happy. So I fought back, quietly. I kept every letter, every fine, every ridiculous notice. I organized them in a neat folder. I installed extra cameras both on my porch and aimed at the street, because I knew sooner or later Karen would cross the line. And when she did, I'd be ready. Then came the big one. A letter taped to my front door written in her signature dramatic tone. Failure to settle your outstanding HOA debts within 48 hours will result in law enforcement involvement. I smiled. I actually smiled. Because finally she was going to do it. She was going to call the cops over unpaid HOA fines. I waited. 48 hours passed. Nothing. Then on the third day around noon, I heard the unmistakable slap of sandals stomping up my driveway. Karen, clipboard shaking in her hand, face redder than a fire hydrant. She started pounding on my door like she was collecting souls. When I opened it, she launched into her speech without breathing. "You've refused to pay. You've disrespected authority. I'll make an example out of you. You don't know who you're dealing with." Then right there in front of me, she whipped out her phone, dialed 911, and put on her sweet customer service voice. "Hello, yes, I need officers immediately. One of my residents is violating HOA law." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, just watching. 10 minutes later, blue and red lights flashed against my driveway. 2 cops stepped out, calm and curious. Karen rushed to them like a cheerleader at halftime, waving her clipboard. "Officers, this man refuses to comply with community rules, refuses to pay his fines, and has disturbed the harmony of our neighborhood." One cop raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, did you say HOA fines?" "Yes," she shouted. "He owes hundreds because he refused to lend my son his car for prom." The other cop blinked. "Wait, you're saying this all started because he didn't lend his car?" Karen, oblivious to how insane she sounded, kept ranting. "He's undermining the authority of the HOA. He's dangerous." That's when I stepped forward holding the folder. "Officers, if you'll take a look, these are the letters she's been sending me. Harassment, false fines, threats. She's been using HOA letterhead to intimidate me." They flipped through the papers. One of them actually laughed. The other rubbed his forehead. "Ma'am," the first officer said, "none of this is enforceable by law. You can't call 911 over HOA disagreements. That's misuse of emergency services." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "No, you don't understand. I run this neighborhood." The second cop sighed. "Not anymore, you don't. You're getting cited for filing a false report. That's a minimum fine of $1,500. The sound she made was unforgettable. Half shriek, half dying bird. And then came the best part, the neighbors. All those people who'd avoided me for weeks. They were standing outside now, phones up, recording the entire scene. Some were even laughing. Karen's face drained of color as the cops handed her the ticket. She looked around, realizing the same people who once feared her were now enjoying the show. Justice sometimes is quiet, but that day it was loud. The next week, an email went out from the HOA board. Effective immediately, Karen Mills has been removed from her position as HOA president due to misconduct. No fanfare, no apologies, just silence. I sat on my porch again that evening, watching the sun bounce off my Camaro's hood. Karen's house across the street had its blinds shut, and for the first time in a long while the air felt peaceful. I didn't celebrate, didn't gloat. I just sat there thinking about how a small act of standing your ground can expose the biggest bullies. Because sometimes all it takes to bring down a tyrant is the courage to say one word no.